Welcome everyone to another overnight outdoor photography trip to Macedonia in Kent, Connecticut with some of the finest waterfalls. We finally have some good weather here in early spring, and forecast for this week is supposed to be pretty nice. So let's go. Alright, I have one stop planned. I need to buy some new water shoes for the season and for an upcoming trip with a friend of mine. Isn't that right, camper? So more about that in a future episode. Alright, we are here. Let's go buy some water shoes. So I had previously researched water shoes and found these attractive. As it turns out, Solomon had just released them for the season as the owner here had told me. This was my first visit here, a family-owned store in business for decades now, located in Avon, Connecticut. It was a pleasure speaking with the owner, who incidentally recommended the water shoe that I was interested in.
Yeah, I think this guy right here would do good. Oh yeah. Nice traction. Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Alright, I think I found the perfect water shoe right here. Newly released. Nice design, looks good. I'm gonna try a few pairs on. Alright, got ourselves a nice pair of water shoes. We are good for the season. This was a great stop. First time I've been here, and this was quite a nice experience. I find there's a state of being relaxed and restored while setting up camp. I suppose that's why they call it recreation. Regardless, I always find enjoyment in setting up the place I'll call home for the next few days. So it's about that time. It's early afternoon, and 2 o'clock seems to be my anticipated hour for coffee. In fact, I look forward to it daily. It's more of a ritual than a habit, and these simple pleasures in life are just so satisfying. Camp is now set up, and this again is Site 44 in the far north portion of the park. And it is quite lovely. It's quite a drive from my site to get back out to the street, but it's a gorgeous woodland drive weaving through Macedonia Brook and her exquisite cascades and beauty. There are plenty of pullovers along the road for subtle, intimate scenes, and they keep calling me. I have to photograph some of this at some point before I leave. So Kent Falls is some 15 minutes from here, and this weather lends itself nicely to an afternoon of hiking and scouting for waterfall photography. Of course, these lighting conditions won't work now as it's just too harsh with spotty and dabbled light, but it's mighty fine for compositional ideas and getting a feel for the lay of the land. Now there's something like over 200 feet of drop at all these falls. And this is the bottom section right here, but this trail goes right up to the very top. So there's a lot of exploring here to do, a lot of landscape photography to picture. The trails here are magnificent for a state park. As a photographer or nature lover, you can spend all day in these woods. While there are plenty of trails in the area, the Kent Falls loop is quite short, but has some elevation to reach the top. Short as it may be though, there's no lack of beauty along its trailhead. there is so much potential for creativity at the top of this geological masterpiece, but I would have to wait on the light. I discovered a group of ferns that would make for a nice foreground supporting element while shooting upstream, but the light was too harsh and contrasty. I would shoot for compositional ideas. Not quite. Even though I waited on the light, it was still too contrasty and the composition needed work. The brook was my subject, and the ferns were supposed to be a supporting element. Well, this image portrays it backward. I need to go deeper and recompose. The light was now getting low enough to work with. I just needed a new composition, and just several feet forward, there was an opening that had potential. I waited on the hiker to move while watching the light. It was softer now, and I was feeling this straight-on composition. What's interesting about landscape photography is the ever-changing ephemeral conditions, and in this case, the topology and elevation paired with all the flora block light from penetrating beneath its canopy. Ironically, this may just work in my favor as there's enough radiant light, but no direct light on this fall. That, along with the trails now much quieter, may just render a shot in this late afternoon light. Sometimes scouting can turn into a full-on shoot. I scouted during the afternoon and then worked my way into the early evening light. At the end of my hike, I was greeted by a bed of ferns eating up the last light of the day. I'll return here tomorrow from what I discovered today and also spend some time at Macedonia Brook creating intimate scenes of her lovely landscape. So join me in part 2 the following day. Until then, be kind to one another and get out there and enjoy nature.